AI Realized, the podcast about everything that is new, now, and next for enterprise executives deploying AI. Hosted by myself, Christina Ellwood, and my collaborator, David Yakovich.
Our guests will share what's driving AI adoption, use cases, and business models for the data and AI economy.
Where the future is bright.
Welcome to AI Realized podcast for executives leading AI deployments. From addressing security, data, and operations challenges to managing the organizational changes, AI deployment represents the opportunity to redesign our organizations from the inside out. I'm Christina Ellwood, your host for today's episode, and we're talking today with Kris Bondi, the CEO of Mimoto. Welcome, Kris.
Thank you very much for having me, Christina.
It's delightful to have you with us. I really appreciate you joining us today. I know that you're a security expert, and I wonder if you would explain to our executive listeners how AI exacerbates security problems.
Everything good about AI is the part that makes it difficult in security. That's the easiest way to say it. So what that means is that AI enables bad actors to be able to change their approach to if we're saying breaches or malicious activity, to change their approach and to innovate on it, and to innovate and also have a evolution of it. It also enables automation at scale. So that means
Okay, so we've put a superpower tool in their hands to make it easier for them to hack.
Yes. And the other part of that is the part that companies often don't think about is that ability to continue to innovate and evolve. A byproduct of that is that enterprises tend not to implement as quickly or innovate as quickly. And so sometimes with some organizations end up being, they start a step behind the bad actors and then quickly could end up 10 steps behind because they haven't evolved and they haven't innovated in how they're responding or how they are setting up new barriers.
It's always been a bit of a game of catch up to keep our organizations secure. So it sounds like we're running slower than the hackers are. But are there some benefits to AI for our security posture?
Most definitely. There are several things. One of which is many organizations don't have the ability to have a red team or blue team. So red team is an internal team that is trying to breach you. Think of it like figuring out how you can be breached. And on the other side, a blue team is the team that is responsible for trying to stop that. Sometimes companies will have what you'll hear a purple team, which is a little bit of both. That can now be done externally, or that can be implemented within an organization where you have AI. I'm saying to AI, figure out how to breach my systems, or how could
Are these services that
these
are
are
offered?
services
I could hire a service organization.
There are organizations that do that, or service companies that do that. But the ability to bring that in-house or be able to have that makes it within reach for companies that couldn't have that before. That's one. The second thing is, if we are, particularly for your team that has people who are implementing AI solutions, the ability to do that same analysis internally of not just from the where's the breach, but how to move things along in a process so that there are less touch points, or there may be spots along the way where you're checking them, but the automation of being able to read signals and respond is something that wasn't possible. So I'll give you an example from my own company of what we do wasn't possible 3 years ago. We take a number of data streams, and depending on what data streams they are, we pick which algorithms are being used, and on the fly we're creating a compostable model to be able to make a determination and take action in real time. All those words I said that would have been those would have been pieces that you could potentially do. We do advanced pattern matching. Advanced pattern matching never scaled before. We can scale up because of where we are today with ML and AI. And that ability to be able to be faster in our response is something that companies now have that they didn't have in the past.
So let me make sure I understood what you just said. So using advanced pattern matching, you are able to evaluate what is happening dynamically in the organization's traffic or patterns of use and identify when there is a breach. Is that correct?
No, no, there's two different things. Sorry, I did say it really fast. So AI enables AI and where we are today with compute enables us to be able to do everything you said about analyzing what's happening within systems. That is a anomaly detection on steroids. Is probably a good way of saying that. The advanced pattern matching that we do that we couple with that is we're actually identifying a person based on a number of things. And the advanced pattern matching is saying it's not just an anomaly of there may be something odd with Christina's account. It is, I can tell you with certainty that's not Christina using it, that's David using it.
Oh, I see.
And so that is the being able to identify who the person is based on because of what we're doing of identifying individual people. And that's an advanced pattern matching. But when you put those together, it gives an incredible strength. And that whether you have our advanced pattern matching or not, where we are today with AI and ML enables companies to be able to do that, a detection of what's happening and read things that they couldn't read before. And also, we are not quite there yet, but the expectation is that we are very close to having the point where an LLM can be queried to be able to ask intent. So I'm seeing that Christina is doing this and this, and not just saying, that's odd. Christina doesn't usually do these things, but having it be, Christina's doing these things. What does it look like she's trying to do? Oh, it looks like she's trying to map the network. So we're not quite at that point, but that's where we're going. And I would expect that potentially within this year of LLMs having developed to the point where we can actually query it about intent.
Okay, that's really helpful. So essentially, even if someone were to steal my password and log in as me, if my company was using Mimoto, you would be able to identify it's not me. And companies can use AI and ML to do similar kinds of things even without Mimoto. Is that right?
Not at the person level, but at the anomaly detection level, yes.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you for separating that for me. That's very helpful. So I want to switch to talking a little bit about deep fakes because that's been such a big issue in the marketplace. Can you talk a little bit about how companies can safeguard from deep fakes?
Yes. I will also start by saying I think deep fakes is an arms race. I think that going back to the bad actors innovating, they will continue to get better, and how to respond to deep fakes or how to catch them in the action will need to continue to innovate.
Maybe you'll break those
Yeah.
down, the identify and the response. Maybe you'll give us a little background on both of
Yes.
those.
So the ways that, again, these are there's outside systems, outside organizations that are specifically focused on identifying deep fakes when it comes to the authentication spot. So companies that are using government-based IDs often are not only using that, they often have something behind the scenes that they're using. So there's one version. There's another version where there are companies that are doing either visual or audio or both, where they are, and this is where I was saying it's an arms race of looking for certain glitches, for lack of, in a layman's terms, looking for certain glitches that are make you aware that may not be the right person, or that the voice that it's not the right person, whether it is a person but using somebody else's voice, which is so it may look like the right person, but it's different words coming out, or it may be somebody representing themselves, but or representing a version of themselves, but they're being fed information from another place. All those are in the deep fake category. So that is the getting in the door part. And that's the part where I was saying that's truly is an arms race. On the other side of it, it is catching if somebody's gotten past that. How do you respond to it? Being able to catch at a additional level, and this is the continuous validation of where it expands beyond just the face. So how are they interacting is the other place to catch it. The danger with one of the big dangers with deep fakes is there's both on the anti-fraud side, and that's costing companies a lot of money potentially. On the other side is if they're doing a deep fake to get into a system, that's where the ransomware attack may happen. That's where from an espionage standpoint, data could be stolen. And the challenge with those is that often is an account takeover, a internal account takeover, which may mean that if I was a systems admin and there was an account takeover, so we've used a deep fake to get in. I'm a systems admin. The things that I'm touching would end up being something that the person who is trying to breach, having got in the door with a deep fake, would touch. If I'm doing that at, say, midnight my time, an admin may be working at that time. And so you have people who are, it's not just the danger of them getting in the door, but it is what they're touching afterward.
So this gets back to monitoring the human behavior for looking for anomalies, right?
It is. The challenge with that is the anomalies may not show up because they're touching the things that they normally would touch. So
Would normally
they would
touch.
normally touch, which is the reason why you have a solution like us that is looking at, but is it that person?
So you're able to go, even if I am doing, if my persona has been stolen and someone has used it to get in to the enterprise system and they're doing things I would normally do, you're still able to figure out it's not me.
Yes, because
And how do you do that?
we are looking at a person level, and so we're looking at a number of things. We're looking at things like, if it is the biometric related things, it would be things like ways that you use your mouse, ways that you use a keyboard. It may be other, and I don't want to give it all away here, it's certain things that you'll do at a web level. I'll give you one example that is slightly deeper, is that I have two technical co-founders. One has a computer science degree, one was self-taught at an early age. They build their Unix command lines differently. There are just things that people do that are inherently specific to them. And it's not just this is the reason why I talk about needing context as well, because it's not just what's out of the system or what's out of normal, but it is what is the thing that we always do. One of the things that
It's like a fingerprint.
it is a multidimensional fingerprint. Something that I do that's
Okay.
unique to me is my left pinky caps on and caps off constantly. That is, I've now said that enough times in public that we can never have that be an identifier of me. But if you were doing that, we would that would be something of anyone who's building a deep fake of you is not going to know that you have this quirk of your left pinky caps on and caps off.
Gotcha. Kris, tell me, what inspired you to start Mimoto?
I have a very firm belief that we as a society have been lucky to date that there hasn't been a larger loss of life or a disruption in the way people live because of somebody getting into a system and not being seen and either taking it over or holding it hostage or deleting it. That's why we exist. What I have in my past that has gave me the ability to realize we could do this is I had been with an Israeli company that had created a neural network to be able to predict what people were doing offline in real time and to have the products interact with people. And so I had this understanding of what a digital double, if we really understood somebody, could do. That particular organization wasn't necessarily in need of it being very privacy protecting. That's something we've fixed this time around. But understanding, if you have a digital double, if you truly understand somebody, how much further you can take that.
I see. That makes sense. And you were ahead of your time because things have only gotten better and harder and whatever. I
Yes.
don't know if you noticed in the paper today, but the Social Security Administration announced you can no longer enroll for your benefits or change your bank account over the phone. You now have to go online or go into a Social Security office. I'm not sure how they envision that happening for people who are ill and bedridden or disabled, but that practical issue aside, do you think that is a direct reflection of the enhanced security issues associated with cloning people's voice?
I think it goes beyond voice, but yes. I think it is because it's not, it most definitely, you wouldn't even have to clone their voice. If I was working at the question is, do you actually have to talk to a person or not? And even if you do, you and I are both female. We both have a name that is a Christina name. The person working there doesn't know who either of us are. So we wouldn't even have to clone a voice in that case. It would really just be it would really just be starting from the point of needing to change it. I do question that sending somebody in, the logistics and the even if you could get people to go in.
And the alternative is you can go online, which, of course, that's not an enhanced security approach. I don't know what they're trying to solve there, but I did think about the incredible accomplishments that have been achieved by companies like 11 Labs in being able to clone voice and to use a clone voice to create whole conversations that are indistinguishable from the real person. So it did get me thinking about that. But I take your point that as far as we know, the Social Security Office is not recording our voice for the purpose of comparing it to the next time we call.
I am concerned about the switching people to online of how ready are they for the amount of bots that are and sophisticated bots that will come at them.
Maybe they need to be using Mimoto, huh?
I'm just leaving it there, not mentioning it, but I do know that there are there a bank will get 200 million 200 million bots coming at them if it is in a relatively small amount of time for setting up accounts or trying to do distribution. That is not a that's a large number, but it's not an unheard of number.
In your work in the marketplace, is there a particular area that Mimoto is ideally suited for, a particular industry, use case, type of company, size of company?
Yeah, so we tend to work we can work across everything, but we tend to work in manufacturing, financial services, particularly regional banks and credit unions, online services, and then there's some cybersecurity companies that are using us as part of what they're delivering as well. Size of company, we tends to be mid mid-size enterprise. So you figure anywhere from 250 people to 15,000 people. And then as far as you didn't ask who we sell into, but we tend to, although we sometimes sell into CISOs, sometimes it's CIOs or CTOs. I tend to think of it as people who have had to clean up the mess or who will have to clean up the mess tend to be very good companies for us. So that also means that companies that are highly regulated tend to want to have us in there.
So I think that helps our listeners to understand when they should look to you for being a solution for them. What advice do you have for our listeners as we think about wrapping our conversation here? What advice do you have, and maybe what resources would you point them to if they wanted to look further into how to increase or improve their security posture in their enterprise?
I think internally, they need to look at how they're innovating. And I would hope that if they are listening to your podcast and are on a journey of implementing AI, that they extend that into how they are innovating their security as well. They're not trying to use old security for new problems. So that's one significant one. And then I'll come back to I believe that in assessing any new security or even their current security, they need to ask how adaptive and dynamic is it? So, in other words, how will it be able to respond to the problem of as it's presented today and as it's presented tomorrow? How quickly can they find it? Is it operating in real time? And not just to send an alert, but actually to take action in real time or enable their team to take action quicker. And that comes down to the third part of the contextual part of are they just putting more of a tidal wave on top of their team, or are they actually enabling people to respond quicker?
That's great advice for them to take away. Thank you so much. So, Kris Bondi, CEO of Mimoto, thank you so much for talking with me today on AI Realized.
Thank you so much.